Hello, and today we'll be playing the newest update of Devil's Gambit. The forest claws at my arms and legs as I dash towards the river. The usual bird song is drowned out by my heaving, heavy footsteps and the storm raging within my skull. I barely maintain my balance when I stop by the river. In a second, I'm picking up the pace again, this time downstream. A nice old wistful sight comes into view, and so does a crowd of around 5 wolves. My heart sinks in dread. Then it's true. But why did this happen? Ranzkai and I were here just a few nights ago. It couldn't be because of that, could it? No, wait. There must be here just to see if the rumors are true, right? I'll head to. But what a pathetic excuse that is. Just look at the amphitheater and how it towers over them. Indeed, once I set my gaze upon the tall stone pillars, the truth becomes clear. Deep purple hazel leaf vines spread around them, like tendrils threatening to pull the stone out of the earth. And as if to remove any false sense of security, the tendrils fade in and out, moving and pulsing in that impossible way I only witness in the valley's haze leaf. I'm taken in by its ghastly dance of how the leaves' shape and size change without rhyme or reason. There's an allure to them like they're inviting me to come closer. But that thought alone makes my heart pound and I look away. It's then that I notice Eirnin talking to another group of wolves a few meters away. Kagans among them stare at the haze leaf covered pillars, hands bound into fists, his ears flick back and forth, though his face remains frozen. Then his ears perk up and he turns around, allowing me to catch a glimpse of his steely gaze. Sir, look over there. Damn it, what now? Lion guards march along the river towards us, holding their spears upright and wearing stone like expressions. I get a distinct feeling that I can either move out of the way or get trampled, so I pick the former. The wolves appear to have the same feeling and move aside as well. As the lions pass us without as much of a glance, I notice Manoel in the center of their formation, though I can't see his face from this side. I can tell he's entranced by the haze leaf. Kagan's group, however, doesn't get any choice. Eirnin clasps his hands and is about to address the guard in the front when the lions push him and the others away from the ruins, going as far as bashing them with their spear shafts. What's your problem? The lion clears his throat. His Grace, Duke Manoel Leopoldino, Sebastião Maria Jose Fiel Aragao Manuel Ricardo de Restauração Gonzaga de Florença e Burgundia and Venezia has ordered that nobody come close to the haze leaf. Now disperse at once. What? Do you even understand what you're meddling with? Eirnin tries to look past the guard at Manoel, but the lion sells him back. Kagan catches him in the nick of time, saving him from a nasty fall. This does little to stop the priest, however. He slips from his apprentice's hands to get back into the lion's face. Now listen to me. We need to burn that thing as soon as possible. The guard grimaces, gripping his spear with both hands. Wait. But then stops at the sound of the Duke's voice. Manoel turns to Eirnin, his healthy hand on his chin. Bring it here. There's no hesitation. The guard grabs Eirnin and throws him behind the formation, sending him tumbling forward. Kagan is paralyzed in place, and so am I. In that split second, a rush of thoughts crosses my mind. Concern for Eirnin's safety, fear for what about to happen, and a wave of disgust as I see how naturally the guard did it. A lion carrying a case approaches Manoel. The Duke opens the case and produces from a large glass jar. Another guard takes it and places it in front of Eirnin, who's still trying to get up. What is this? Silence. You will collect the samples. My blood is boiling, and I feel my nails dig into my right arm. Wait, you can't. If he inhales the haze leaf, it'll drive him delirious. I barely keep myself from screaming at the Duke or yelling out something that would doubtlessly make things worse. But Manoel simply stares blankly at me and then smiles. Oh, it's you. Yes, I'm aware. That's why I'm making the mud do it. Now get to work. A hit in the back with the spear's blunt ends of the blunts with the spear's blunt end breaks Eirnin out of his daze. The priest grits his teeth and stumbles towards the laser leaf, holding onto the jar for dear life. A piercing pain spreads through my forearm. My claws are digging into my skin enough to drift a little red. I keep staring at it, overwhelmed but on some level welcoming the distraction. I can't understand what's happening anymore. It was a normal morning until a wolf arrived at Orwell's nest in a frantic state with a leaf stuck in his ear. It couldn't have been more than 20 minutes since. How did everything spiral so quickly? I swallow what little saliva is in my mouth and look up at Kaka, and I can't see his expression, and he's still as a statue. I can't imagine what must be going through his mind. Ian is still off balance. He must have gotten hurt when the guard threw him, but he's pulled himself together enough to act deliberately. He takes a deep breath before walking up to a pillar and tearing apart one of the vines. He takes the end he cut loose and squeezes it, causing some sort of purple liquid to leak out. Before pulling from it twice, the vine comes loose, and then it's a race to get it all inside the jar and to close it. As I fear he can't hold his breath the entire time, and some of the liquid soaks into his fur. The wolf returns with the sample. A guard takes the jar from him before another pushes him towards us. This time Kagan is there to keep him from hitting the ground at least. Instead I finally break out of my paralysis and run towards him. Oh my God, Eirnin, let me clean your hand. What are you doing here? Ouch. Don't speak, sir. Here, get on my back. Let's take you to the hospital. I can walk, damn it. Stop being so stubborn. Kagan's right. Let's go, please. Manoel was holding up the jar, babbling about the haze leaf being fascinating or something to that effect. If I had to stay in his proximity for one more minute, I'll snap. Fine. Surprised gazes fall on us when we arrive at the main ward, but the response is prompt. I yell for a sedative, and a colleague rushes to prepare a vial. After helping Eirnin get on the bed, Kagan steps aside to let us work. Is a needle necessary? Don't whine. Also stay put. I'm not whining. It's just that doesn't look pleasant. I'm afraid it'll hurt, yes. He's still lucid at least. Not that I expected otherwise, but it's nevertheless a relief. Another doctor hands me an ampoule. I check it quickly, the intact label, the correct light yellow color, the simply viscous consistency, and no signs of dirt or contaminants. I've done it 1,000 times. I break the vial's neck and breathe in. There it is, the unmistakable smell. By collecting it with the syringe, I estimate Eirnin's weight and age. He's taller than Finbar by a few inches. I quickly calculate the dosage. While my colleague prepares the injection site, I give Kagan a brief look. He has this glassy aspect to his eyes. Look at nothing in particular. He barely moves. Let's start. Tell me when you feel drowsy. Not long after a wolf comes calling for Kaga, and the light returns to his eyes. At the midst of his name, he excuses himself. All throughout, Eirnin fails to hide his anxiety. I almost assumed he might have a common fear of needles, but as I line up the sewage, I catch it. He's looking at the liquid. What do you put in me? It's not the name of the substances that he wants. It's useful sedative for haze leaf inhalation, and nothing more. I checked it. How can you tell? I'm good at my job. To my surprise, Eirnin's shoulders relax. Along with his breathing, he does not move his arm away as I position a needle. But how can you tell? The color, the consistency, the scent. I prepared this kind of sedative before. I know exactly how to identify it, and Eirnin keeps looking at me, still apprehensive, but growing calmer. He doesn't even wince when I plunge the needle. If someone had tampered with it, I know. After injecting, I describe all the characteristics of the drug while holding up the ampoule with the leftovers. I even let him smell it so he can check the scent for himself. He's so focused on my description, he doesn't even notice when the drug kicks in. Once he's stable and safe, I walk outside and I see Kagan talking to some other wolves by the stables. He notices me and tells the others something before he heads towards me. Hector, is Eirnin alright? Yes, he's asleep right now. Oh, for how long will he be like that? Hard to tell, assuming he didn't breathe in the hazel leaf fumes for long. The sedative doses I injected should be enough, and he would be safe to wake up tomorrow. So I'll probably keep him in the hospital a bit longer, just to make sure his coordination isn't impaired. A man his age can't get seriously injured if he trips and falls. What if it's a guard pushing him around? I'll hold that in. How are you feeling? I don't know. It's almost as if he had forgotten himself. It takes him a moment to formulate a proper answer. I think I'm getting a migraine. My ears are ringing. Felt dizzy before when I came outside and things calmed down. Without thinking, I lay a hand on his forearm. I'll make sure Eirnin is alright. You don't have to worry about that. He sighs. Part of the tension in his shoulders disappears, but not all. His gaze shifts towards the stables. Hector, have you ever met an Inquisitor? No, I've only heard stories. Why? The wolf steps closer and whispers. The hazel leaf in the forest, why it appeared, is a mystery to me. But I do know it's not something that should happen. That's a bad omen, Hector. I can make a good guess on why Manoel is so interested in it. To him it must be proof of demonic activity, or at least something just as bad. Then the Inquisition will get involved. Eirnin is right that the Inquisition won't come unless there are demons or worshippers to kill. But they aren't fools. They are aware of Ranzkai's roots. They will know the haze leaf sowing up outside the valley is a sign of a dark god stealing. Someone will come, whoever they are, or what they intend to do, we cannot tell. He looks away, lost in thought. This is truly a terrible turn of events. What I'm getting at is, do you really intend to stay, no matter how dire the situation may become? Are you afraid of the Inquisition, Kagan? He blinks in surprise as if he hadn't even considered the idea. I suppose, but now I'm just trying to be pragmatic. I can't predict how this will turn out. The Inquisition might find Manoel's behavior deplorable, or perhaps it'll suspect us of secretly worshiping the dark god. And if it is the latter, they might reach a conclusion bloodier and more ruthless than we can imagine. Either way, conflict might break out. I already told you I'm staying. I know, and I'm warning you of what may be in store for one eye. If you still won't budge, well, what can I do but keep my word? I'll protect you however I can. As he squeezes my shoulders, the ice in his eyes reflects back at me. This time, however, that frozen peak doesn't seem so distant and unreachable, as firm and unshakable as the coldest mountain, unyielding, determined, and safe. I hesitate. Just when did the cold become so comforting? But it almost deepens my guilt and doubts all the more. I can't shake the feeling this is my fault. What other explanation could there be for the sudden appearance of Hazleaf? And now the Inquisition might come to town because of it. It's just 2 months. I just wanted Ranzkai to comfort me, to feel warmth at all. To have a home at last. And Ranzkai, does this mean he was taking advantage of me after all? And what about everything he said about not wanting to wake up the Dark God? If he's using me to spread his influence, then that must have been a lie. Damn it, I'm so stupid. I thought demons couldn't lie. A priest in the city once told me, and the Inquisitor said so. They were wrong about having my soul taken in a deal. One day, figures that priest was just making shit up. But even so, I want to believe him. All the things he said, all those emotions, silly, they could not have been lies. I open my eyes and stare at the ceiling, the dark ceiling of my room. I'm not getting a wink of sleep tonight, even in its darkness. It feels as though I'm staring right into the sun. Visions of the day keep drifting into my mind. The haze covering the pillars, the guards harassing Eirnin, that damn Manoel with his jar of haze leaf, the Inquisition. What would have happened had I intervened more forcefully around the Duke? Could I have stopped him from forcing Eirnin to harvest the leaves? Maybe he would have forced Kagan to do it then, or even me. We are younger, healthier. If we had gone on a frenzy, it would have been harder to contain us, Kagan in particular, but recovery would have been swift. That's why he wanted Eirnin to do it, Hector. He's old and disposable. He would not want to waste healthy, usable wolves in a task like this. He needs them for the expeditions. It doesn't matter if his guards rough him up. God, I will call and stick my claws to the pillow the way they pushed him. If he had fallen on the rock, he could have broken a bone. At his age, he won't. At his age, he would never recover. Today's events could have easily turned into an irreversible tragedy. Then a pebble hits my window. I freeze up only my gaze following the direction of the sound. A second pebble bounces off the glass, and then silence. I look around for a red or purple glow, but there's nothing of the sort. The third pebble makes my heart jump, and it's then that I gather my wits, getting out of bed and head downstairs. Like last time, I exit into a desolate town and spot a faint red arc of light moving towards the forest. And sure enough, the devil of one eye shows himself once we cross the tree line. Badger, at long last, we meet again. It's not even been a week. Hello, Ranzkai. My, is something troubling you? You seem sadder than usual. You already know what it is, don't you? The demon shows me a meaningful grin. Indeed, the haze leaf growing in the ritual site isn't. Truth be told, that caught me off guard as well. Really? But the haze leaf originates from the valley. Couldn't you control it then? It's true that I have some authority over the valley, but I am not its true master. That honor belongs to my parent, the Iron Nine. Or are you suggesting our love-making from the other night was secretly a ritual, a catalyst for the haze leaf to spread? That would be a most devilish plot, but no, I really did not expect this to happen. So what? Did the eye just see fit for the haze leaf to grow there? The eye steers in its slumber. It's begun using me as a vector for its influence too. This is nothing extraordinary. It was commonplace back when my kin and yours intermingled. However, it means the eye's sleep is much lighter than I estimated. I really cannot tell if he's lying or not, or rather I cannot find a sign that he's trying to deceive me. Ranzkai's words feel as though they come from somewhere deep within, where words are untouched by whatever defect or evil makes them imprecise or even twist them into lies. He could be lying through his teeth and I never catch it because he can't help but to tell another truth in return. Or that's the impression I get anyway. When I was naive and young, I thought the body's language was imprecise and that words existed to clear up the little misunderstandings that came with it. But often the opposite is true. People will say one thing and then do the other. The truth is often in the space between those. The Lord might claim to care about his peasants to want to protect them, but when he rules them with an iron fist while drowning them in taxes, it's obvious what he cares about is that they continue working their plot of land. Perhaps the truth about Ranzkai is somewhere between his words and deeds, too. In that case, as to whether I trust him or not, the answer is obvious. Now, Hector, let's get to the actual reason why I'm here tonight. Before I can protest, him changes the topic. He places a finger on top of my lips. Yes, he possessed that thirst for knowledge, so typical of mortals. Trust me, all your questions shall be answered tonight, but we might as well have some fun in the process. What do you have in mind? I know a quick path to the ruins in the valley's threshold. Why don't we explore them together? Who knows, we might find something interesting. Ah yes, following a demon to the isolated ruins of a fallen civilization. Every night, Ranzkai shows up, he seems to pull me closer and closer to the valley. He could be luring me into some sort of trap, or trying to spirit me away. But from his voice and what experiences I had with him, it feels like he's just playing with me. That's how he is, isn't it? He will look down at me like I'm a tasty morsel of meat, say the most degrading things and treat me like an object, but it never feels truly evil. Alright, as long as you keep your word. Naturally. Now follow me. The demon envelops my hand in his and he pulls me along. I'm struck silent by how warm his touch is. Suddenly the sensations from when we lay together came back to me, and all sorts of ideas of what he could attempt in the privacy of the valley's ruins pop up. Cool your head, Hector. At this rate, you'll become more of a sex fiend than the demon himself. What's wrong? It's nothing. Are you scared? You should be. Perhaps this time I'll kidnap you and keep you all for myself. My heart skips a beat, and I curse under my breath. The forest gives way to crumbled ruins, and we walk down what I can only assume to be a former road of a once prosperous town. I thought little of it the first time I was here, but after seeing the forest shrine, I can picture what this place looked like in its heyday. Countless houses built of stone, like little castles. Nothing like the wooden huts I'm used to seeing in Oblad and Ranai. Wolves, or would it have been demons, walking down the same road on their way to work or perhaps to trade. There can't be much farmland in this stretch between the forest and the valley, so I figured if this wasn't inhabited entirely by demons, it was a city of traders. Unless the land back then was as hostile as they could grow crops here. We go up some steps and reach what seems to be a plaza. Before us are the remnants of a fountain overlooked by a tower that has endured the test of time better than most other buildings. At first I wondered if it used to be an observation tower, but it actually reminds me more of the town's shrine, just made entirely of stone. The architecture is identical. Fascinating, isn't it? Ranzkai swiftly steps inside, and not wanting to be left behind, I went after him. The demon has his arms crossed and one hoof on top of a rock, looking at the stars through what is now more of a hole than ceiling. You know, Badger, we will fit in the old Ranai. Demons and mortals walking side by side, that used to be the norm. How far has Ranzkai fallen, reduced to little more than a sad colony? The once proud wolves, who my kin held as equals, as family, now bow their heads to a butcher of a tyrant. Wait, are you saying this used to be Ranzkai? Right in the valley itself? Not quite. The original Ranzkai, where the wolves' ancestors' floors, is in the valley's heart. This was more of a temporary settlement before me and the valley chased them off. Even knowing how open they are about their demonic legends, that's incredible. And yet, it's true. Not that it matters anymore. In the end, the wolves proved unfit to guard the eye, and now they're too weak to even resist the Duke. I will protect them from the worst consequences of their neglect. The eye shall not awaken under my watch, but there's nothing to do about the misery they brought upon themselves. I don't think they had a choice, Ranzkai. Slowly he lowers his gaze and his ears flutter. Then he chuckles as he looks back at me, gritting his teeth through his smile. They did, and they do. Oh yes, they do. As long as they have claws and fangs, they do. So the townspeople butcher the Duke like cattle, no matter the consequences, or does he mean something else? I can't blame the people of Ranzkai for not taking the risk. Grandpa did exactly that, and even if ultimately things improved afterwards, the price was steep. As much as I dislike Grandpa, I'm not sure I'd have had that courage to do what he had to do. But did it mean anything to Oblon's survivor? Even with our previous lord overthrowing the plague, ruined Oblon just the same. His sacrifices meant little for our town's survival, but allowed my father and I to lead better lives. Perhaps that is what Ranzkai is getting at. The demon's tail gingerly wags as we walk out of the decrepit building and further down the road. Do you also live in the old Ranzkai? He wraps his necklace around one of his fingers, thinking, I was only born after the wolves abandoned it, so I didn't get to experience the glory days. However, I saw glimpses of it through the memories of other demons that were sacrificed to create me. Sacrifice? I stopped dead in my tracks. How did I say this? Who are you really, Ranzkai? He looks at me with such levity, like he cannot see why my question would even matter. I am a demon. Is that not enough? Not really. I want to know more about you. I know. Well, he breaks into a sprint suddenly. Maybe I'll tell you more if you can catch me. But hey, I go after him, but trying to catch him is like chasing my shadow. I can never get close enough, and just when I think I have him cornered, I make a turn and see he has vanished, only for him to reappear behind me. Eventually I see him go into what was probably a house, and I hear his whoos as he goes upstairs. I've got him. He's got nowhere to run now. I climb to the roof, and then he's nowhere to be seen. Below me are ruins, and the valley started not too far away. I glance at the mountains, and I swear their eyes are blinking at me. Damn it, using magic to escape is too unfair. I'm about to turn back when suddenly I'm hugged from behind. A small scream escapes my throat, and then I see Ranzkai's grinning face right next to me. Caught you. What? I was the one chasing after you. The predator becomes a prey. What did I say I couldn't catch you too? Even in nature, prey will strike back, Hector. Or do you think the hooves and horns are all for show? I giggle as he squeezes my belly, making a half-hearted attempt at breaking free. But he wants more than just to tickle me, judging by one of his hands going lower and lower. Wait. What is it? If we have sex, will Hazley grow here as well? I have a countermeasure for it, this time courtesy of the ancient wolves of Ranzkai in their dusty old tomes. He steps away each step, following a rhythm. Slowly he takes off piece after piece of his attire, turning around as the cow attention to every centimeter of his body. When he gets to his loincloth, he starts his suit's back a piercing look. With a smile, the demon unfastens his belt, which slides off his tail and hits the floor. And right at that moment, he turns to face me once again, holding up his loincloth in a dramatic pose. Does your loincloth have something to do with this countermeasure? Look a little closer. I squint and notice something painted on the wet fabric, some sort of woven sergel, though it has runes I never seen before. What is that? Ranzkai clears his throat and kneels, laying his loincloth on the floor. Since the eye is using me as a vector, it may be impossible to ward off its influence. However, the ancient Ranzkai rules devised a sergel to use that influence against it. You don't seem very convinced. It's just the haze leaf took you by surprise, no? Are you sure this will work? It's an old and tried method, Badger. Older than myself, in fact. It's not that I don't believe him, but what if he's mistaken, although Ranzkai might have accounted for that already. Nobody will bat an eye to haze leaf growing this close to the valley. So if it doesn't work, at least it won't make things much worse than they already are. Is that why he lured me all the way out here? Besides, I do want to find out if it works. Alright, let's do it. He smiles ear to ear. Perfect. Ranzkai looks around for rocks to secure the sergel to the floor. However, just as he's about to do it, he stares at his loincloth and then back at me, or rather at my nose. Change of plans. He sells the loincloth onto my face. Immediately the smell of thousands of springs rushes into my nose, tearing a moan out of me. Ranzkai drags a finger on my boner, chuckling before tying the loincloth around my face. Yes, this I'll do. A whine escapes me as his sharp claws dig into mine through my clothes, ready to tear them apart any second now. Now, shall we try out, my beloved Badger? We fall to the cold floor, and I look into Ranzkai's eyes as his hands get under my clothes, and he undresses me. In them is a badger, his face covered by a particularly pungent loincloth, painted red with a hint of purple by a demon's iris. I'm not so big of a fool now to have reservations. He might deceive me, or perhaps the sergel won't work, but I can't say no because it is what I want. It's crossed my mind every once in a while that Ranzkai is like the old Kangan. How quickly he switches between love and venomous spite, those smiles that endear me no matter how punchable they are, negating adventures in the forest. In his feud with the Duke, the few times he mentioned Manoel, when I told him about Oblon as well, there was this fire in his eyes. Sometimes violent, sometimes quiet, but always intense. There was something in him deeply concerned with justice, and now that I see myself in them, I know why. It's not truly like Kangan. The version of him I idealized never existed after all. Rather he's what I wanted out of the wolf, what I imagined he'd grow into after 9 years. Did Ranzkai become this way on purpose, or did something in him change the moment he looked at my heart and decided he wanted it? Could it be that, in a sense, I created Ranzkai? I can't tell, but no matter how I look at it, the other Kangan's back. He's real now. As well as his hands on my hips, as well as his hands on my lips, his tongue on my chest, his teeth nibbling my nipples. But if so, then just who is that red and purple badger I see in his eyes? If looking into my heart made Ranzkai into a Kangan that previously didn't exist, then could it be I've become more devilish in turn? Perhaps Cecilio was right. If only out of pure dumb luck I am a demon, I carry the hunger of one. It's not enough. Nothing is enough. I want Ranzkai. I want to help Kangan. I want to save Oblon. I want everything. everything, to bury or climb my burn marks, dig out the memories and taste them all over again, to indulge in every single one. But for now, if I can hold on to this broad back, moaning and whimpering as Ranzkai dives into me, that is enough. That's almost enough to sate me. There's a nagging feeling something else I still want out of Ranzkai, not as the other Kaigan, but as a demon. Just where did you come from, Ranzkai? You were created after the ancient when I fell, but why? How did it come to that? See, I've caught you. I'll do as many times as you want. I'll keep holding on, no matter how long, or how heavy the burden may become. I want you, all of you. So tell me. Foolish mortal, only a taste of what demonhood has to offer and you're already way over your little head. I can't say I didn't expect it, or that it isn't entertaining. It's adorable, really. Well, Badger, allow me to indulge you then. I thought it's best to spare you of this dark tale, but who am I to deny your blooming desires? I shall reveal it all then, when I, the Eye Valley, and me, the past that connects us, the tendons and tissue binding us together. Our story begins long ago, back when the world was still in flux. One night, a star descended upon this land. Upon it, perhaps it was in response to a prayer, or it might have been the product of pure chance. Whatever the case, a droplet of the sky fell in a place that would one day be known as the Eye Valley. Though it made a splash, it remained hidden, undiscovered by any soul for a time too long for you to comprehend. A humble wolf hunter, a member from a then nomadic tribe, walked into the valley's maw, and in its heart finally found that droplet. At the bottom of a crater was a gate to an abyss that, unbeknown to him, would save his peoples in this land's history. From that abyss rose a haze that quickly enveloped the wolf. The hunter struck it with his spear, but was useless. However, no harm befell him. Rather, the haze retreated on its own, accumulating into the air before him, and took shape, becoming solid. Heart, nerves, bones, flesh, skin, layer by layer, an entity was born there. The wolf was in shock, for this new being had a striking resemblance to him. Then opened his eyes, and from the first moment their gazes met, the hunters understood. Nothing was out of his reach now, whether it was peace, wealth, eternity, or all the love nature had to offer, he could have it. So when the entity, or should I say the first demon of the eye, reached out to him, rather than striking it down, the hunter took that hand. This communion is how it all started, how and I would come to be. He returned home, changed. He was welcomed by gasps and expressions of shock. Although they all could recognize him, it was clear he was no longer the same kind of being as his clan. Not only was he bigger and stronger, but he could bend nature to his will. But at West he could command saplings to grow wherever he stepped. With a glance, fruit would ripen and fall from any plant. The trees would add his limbs, growing where he saw fit and extending his reach to the entire forest. By constricting roots around rocks, he could even mold solid stone in the shape he desired. But this power wasn't meant to belong to one person. The hunter understood this. Boons were meant to be shared, Hector. So the next time they marched, it would be towards the valley. There, all of them basked in the eye's glory, and more of my kin emerged. Together they transformed their craters into a city, and on top of the eye's abyss they erected a temple in its honor. For a time the two worlds coexisted in peace. The eye then drifted in and out of slumber, mustering efforts to spread and grow. The wolves sang it a lullaby every time. The surgeon we used tonight was one of the many forms that song took. Why did more of my kin appear? Good question. Do you think the eye intended to create Ranzkai? The eye wants to sleep, but it being discovered by mortals was an inevitability. Then by creating Ranzkai, it attained a balance where the mortals, rather than being the catalyst of its awakening, protected its slumber. Is that it? It's an interesting idea, if a little naive. Say, Hector, why does fire burn? Does it want to warm and comfort us? Why does rain fall and flow to the ocean? Does it want to quench the thirst of mortals? Fire, water, and so much of nature simply is. It has no intentions or desires. It is there, and it will do as it will. The eye is the same as fire or water. It has no self-awareness and no emotions. With that in mind, that ancient Ranzkai existed in this equilibrium was nothing short of a miracle, and so it was that the wolves were not consumed by greed and ambition as soon as they learned of the eye's power. Still, while you might be mistaken about the eye's nature, my kin did notice what you just observed and made it their mission to protect that balance between wakefulness and sleep. However, no matter how good their intentions or how many songs for the eye the wolves came up with, greed did little by little poison their hearts. Think of the ecstasy you're experiencing right now, Badger. Now imagine how the wolves of 019 must have felt, becoming stronger, changing themselves and their environment to their liking. For this time, when Ranzkai's legends of demons living in the valley and chasing away anyone who dare approach it had already begun taking shape. If you can believe it, the wolves were complicit at the start. So imagine this once humble tribe becoming so powerful it could now fight back against swords, spears, whatever you threw at them. Imagine how terrified they were of losing that power. And as the wolves grew anxious, the demons grew ravenous. Power begets fear, which begets greed, which then begets more power. The summit isn't the destination, it's the beginning, or in Ranzkai's case, the end. The calamity began with a flash of light coming from the temple at the heart of the city. From afar it was but a tremor, a shudder in the mountains. Little did they know that their days of glory had ended. After the flash, the water in the city gained an unnatural color. Something had gone awry. Evidently, in a party of both wolves and demons was formed to investigate what had happened in the temple. All was quiet in the city center. They called out for the townsfolk, guards, priests, even the children, but nobody answered. All around them was this haze, like dense clouds of dust or pollen. The water had been completely transformed into a thick purple substance, and the ice essence, and as soon as they arrived at the temple's gates, all hell broke loose. If you've ever thought I'm a monster, well, you've seen nothing, Hector. The full extent of what the eye can create is beautiful and terrible. For it, the nature is not, but the soil where its seed will grow into new forms of life. The demons knew this, but as for the wolves, they only learned this truth that day. Now without struggle and sacrifice, they slew the beast made from the flesh and faith of their clan, and put it into the temple in search of survivors. They feared it might be too late, that everybody had already been devoured, or even worse, become part of that beast, but they still had to try. However, what was waiting for them there was beyond their every expectation. Yes, what they found was a cradle of the future, a promise of the fate that awaited them if they kept walking down that path. The greed, the madness that had taken over the wolves. What they saw in the temple was enough to snap them out of it. Can you imagine, Hector, the moment they learned what exactly what they had invited into their bodies? I'm sure you felt it too, the guilt and the shame. There's no need to lie. Just as you want to have all of me, I'll accept all of you as well. Back to the story, there was nothing they could do for the priest, but more importantly, it had become obvious for both the wolves and the demons that the dreamlike life they had enjoyed in Ranzkai couldn't last. They came together one last time to say goodbye to both the Eye and their city. The wolves sang their last lullaby before leaving the valley. The demons remained behind, lost without the wolves that had once given them safe abandon. However, unbeknown to everyone, the blood spilled during the calamity flowed through the city's canals and into the temple, and there mixed with the Eye's essence that caused a shift in the demons. What my kin did next, I can't tell if it was out of their own volition being lost without the wolves, or if because the Eye willed it. The Eye had been sealed, but a pool of its essence remained accessible in a different chamber in the temple, the one the blood had flowed into. They headed there, basked in the Eye's light, and returned to being pieces of its essence, nourishing me. Their consciousness were absorbed into mine until only simple ghosts of their memories remained, and that's how I came to be. I was nothing but a mind at first. How many days and nights passed before I could blink, move my fingers, arms, and legs, I could not tell. By the time I broke out of the lake, they were all gone. Not another demon was left, and the wolves had gone and settled in the valley's border, afraid but not quite ready to let go yet. For years I wandered the old Ranzkai all on my own. Wherever I looked, names and vague faces would appear in my mind, warm like the morning sunlight, recollections from my kin. Through them I learned a little about the people that used to live there, and about the calamity that befell them, but what truly stayed with me was this sense of love and loss. Neither belonged to me, not fully, but I knew this. What had been built there would never exist again. It was my mission to stop this ruinous tale from repeating itself. I leaned onto the Ranzkai's shoulder. It's almost a reflex. The moment he wraps his arm around my shoulders, I'm resting my head against his. What do I make of all this? Rationally, it does little besides reinforcing what I already knew about the Dark God, but the true relationship between the demons and Ranzkai is too much for me to process right now. Before I realize it, I'm staring at his face almost as though seeking guidance, but he seems so very distant. If Kagan is a mountain, then Ranzkai might as well be a shooting star alone in this pit of a world, capable of only looking up at the past you still belong to, only to have arrived too late to experience it. But maybe, just maybe, it can still exist as long as I can reach out and touch his hand, intertwine our fingers together. It can still exist. It's not glorious, nor is it worthy of legend. Ours is a small and fragile world, but it's ours. It is home. Ranzkai blinks and turns to me with a smile. Waterlong face. I could ask you the same thing. Oh, please, the last thing I need is you of all people to give me pity. He washes my shoulder and plants a kiss on my forehead. Then with that devilish gleam back in his gaze, he contemplates our surroundings. No sign of Hazley so far good. Incidentally, Hector, do you still want to be with Kagan? I open my mouth, but my mind is blank. I wasn't expecting that all of a sudden. It's so easy to forget he can read my thoughts. The devil notices my silence and grins. What, do you think I wouldn't notice? Is that a problem? A problem, please. It's just amusing. The more I give you, the more you want to take. So typical of a mortal. So, what are you planning? Planning? I don't know. He wants me to, but he looks so scared. We kissed yesterday, and even then, he seemed afraid. I noticed the weight of everything happening around him. I want to be there for him, but I don't know what to do. God, the worst thing that could happen would be me becoming another burden. All this is a mistake. Ranzkai remains silent, and soon I realize he's waiting for me to continue, and when I don't, he raises an eyebrow, looking somewhat disappointed. That's all by the eye. You're so shameless around me. but then you let these little details stop you with shotgun. No wonder you felt prey to me. Well, at first I wasn't even sure he liked me. The demon suddenly stands up, throwing his arms high up. Why not? Don't you know him like the palm of your hand? In the back also? Where's all this hesitation coming from? He holds his open hands up, turning them around and around. He clutches them into fists. Could it be guilt? Guilt, yes. That might be it. I abandoned my best friend, the love of my life, for 9 years while thinking he had nobody else left. It doesn't matter why I did it, or that I thought it was for the best. It doesn't change the facts or how I feel about them now. What do you think I should do? The way this world works is simple, Hector. If you want something and you have the chance to seize it, then you take it, or else you'll regret that moment deeply. If you let your regrets burden you until you can no longer step forward, you will always be miserable. But I must say, aren't things going rather well for you now? A few days ago, you were heartbroken, but now you made up and even shared a tender moment. Perhaps all that prude needs is a little time, or if you're impatient, a little puss, just like you did. I blink and with a sigh look up at the stars. Maybe so. And on that note, we dress up and head back to Manoel. I'm mostly silent as Ranzkai's words swirl around in my head. Once the town comes to view, the demon stops and crosses his arms. Hector, there's something you must know. What is it? The Duke will start his profane expedition any time now. So for the foreseeable future, I'll focus on thwarting his efforts. That means we won't see each other for a few nights. Recently, it's been easy for me to forget, but the one sabotaging the expedition, the one hurting all those wolves, is Ranzkai. Of course, if I accuse him of that, he says Manoel, who's been hurting them. He's not entirely wrong, but him bringing this up so casually, I don't know how it makes me feel. Oh, well, please don't be too rough on the townspeople. What an idiot. What I'm even saying. I'm not killing them, am I? I say I've been pretty gentle. Don't look so gloomy now. I'm not so heartless as to leave you alone for long without a little consolation. Before I can ask what he's up to, he once again removes his loincloth and holds it in front of me. Here, something to remember me by. Without a single word, almost instinctively, I reached out and grabbed it. Ranzkai couldn't look more satisfied if he tried. I wonder why he, in the valley, smells so strongly of flowers. Thank you for playing. There was Gambit. We hope you had a great time. If you enjoyed the game, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Patrons will get access to the latest builds before they go public on itch.io and will get a free key to the game once it's complete and released. The higher tiers will receive other benefits like access to work in progress, art, streams, and more. Supporting us would help a lot, as it would allow us to really focus on delivering the best experience possible. If you enjoyed the game but can't support us on Patreon, please consider leaving a 5-star rating on it and following our socials. You will find the links on the start screen now, so make sure to check them out. That's all for now. Hopefully you look forward to the next build. We know we are. Until later. That was the latest update of Devil's Gambit. I wasn't able to record this throughout the night because where I live there was loud crickets, You got these loud crickets next to my window, so it's very distracting. So I just haven't been able to produce more videos quickly. Instead of doing them like every day, I have to do them like every other day and record the videos throughout the day when I'm not busy. Because usually like it was for the quickest, I'd be recording throughout the night, but since it's so distracting, I had to record throughout the day when I have time. But anyway, so we got to learn more about Wanai and what it used to be, and the fact that this force, the eye of Wanai, the wolves settled in the heart of the valley, like in the eye, I guess, and the eye gave them powers, and they were able to live in great prosperity. And then the wolves became greedy and power hungry, so that led to their demise, and they had to say goodbye to the city and leave. And wolves and demons live together in harmony. So about well so yeah, wolves and demons live in harmony together, and the wolves were so Ranzkai is a demon, but he's in a wolf form. All the demons adopted the forms of the wolves and live among them. So and Manoel, who is the duke of the area, he forcefully made Eirnin and Kagan and Hector collect the hazel leaves, and those guards were very rough on Eirnin. They were very rough. And Kagan was powerless to do anything about it. Though he did prevent Eirnin from falling to the ground by capturing him in time. So it just shows how Manoel is, just ruthless, uncaring, and willing to accomplish his goals with no regard. So, learn a history lesson about Wanai and how Ranzkai came to be. He's basically like the remnants of all these demons that live with the wolves when during the heyday of Wanai, and once it was everything with the hell, all the remnants of the demons formed Ranzkai, basically. So that's all I have to say for now. This alien's coming. Gotta live in a noisy area around here. This neighbor's back here also out here talking. So anyway, what else is to say? I don't think I have much else to say really. But that's basically what this update was, a big history lesson. And it looks like this eye is about to wake up again. Because the wolves kept it from fully waking up, but they kind of failed in that long ago. And with Manoel and the Inquisition and encroaching further and further into the territory of the eye, is going to wake up. It's going to cause great destruction. And the scene here, the menu screen, it shows basically everybody in great distress and buildings being destroyed and all that. And it looks like Ranzkai may try to he may try his best not to hurt the people, but he may be willing to. I don't think he's probably gonna try not to hurt the people, but he's gonna have to focus more on the goal. With the eye and all that. So anyway, so that's all I got to say for now. Thank y'all very much for watching. Goodbye.